Oh, no, he's there. He's there. Oh, fish. Hello, welcome to another Early Bird Adventures. In this video, I'm going over basically late winter, early spring tactics. It's going to be more geared towards big boat, gear and tackle versus kayak, but I will be sharing some stuff from kayak. My perspective is from someone who mainly goes fishing on Lake Superior. I live in, kind of towards the west end of Lake Superior, so I'm mainly targeting like the Apostle Islands, down the shoreline to Superior, and then up the North Shore a little bit. So when I say late winter, early spring, I mean literally like as soon as ice out. So in all reality, the next couple weeks, I will probably be starting to get out on the water. From when I start to, I'm going to say like basically peak smelt run, which is like mid to late April, like the start of May, I am solely running smaller, skinnier stick baits and stinger spoons. Basically, I don't necessarily like running it because you do catch some big lake trout, and let's just say scatter at minnows and stuff like that are not built to handle them. But I'm trying to match the forage that they're feeding on, which is very skinny lake shiners. So basically, all I'm running is stuff like this, which is a scatter at minnow. This one is called Hot Steel. You can see how beat up it is. It's starting to lose its shine. It's basically got a bunch of teeth marks on it. I don't like upgrading hooks. If I do, I maybe only go one size up because I don't like throwing the weight of the stick bait off. Especially scatter at minnows. They got a very finicky but nice action for the zigzag. Something else I like to run is I'm starting to really like these. I know they're jerk bait, but these shadow wrap deep runners, even though it says they're a deep runner, at most they're getting down about 8 feet, even if you let like 100 feet of line out. So I do really like running these. This is another good color. This is also a scatter at minnow, but this is smelt. This one has been working for me the last few years. I think it's called like Fruit Loops or something like that. I don't fully remember, but another scatter at minnow that this one's worked very well for steelhead and coho and Superior for me. And then once in a while on the big boat, if I don't have dipsy divers out, I'm going to be running something like this, which is a scatter at deep husky jerk, but it's something just to basically get it out, away, and down out of the prop wash of the boat. It seems like, especially purple descent here, seems like it's a really nice way to get a big brown to hit. Another style of bait that works is bay rats. Bay rats got some nice shallow divers. This one I think is called Christmas Tree. Another one that a lot of people like running is Coho Crusher. I don't run these a whole lot, mainly because I've been trying to get away from basically the walleye cranks. I think you can on Michigan. I feel like most guys on Michigan I talk to don't run these. When I have gone to Milwaukee in March, we did have a lot of good luck on catching some big browns and some scatter at minnows. But we had just as good a luck on catching them on stinger spoons and stuff like that. So if you can, I would avoid these, but on Superior, you can't. They're just so focused on this style of stick bait. And like I said, leading into that, I also like to run a lot of stinger spoons. I'm a big Michigan Stinger fan. I will say the one downside to stinger spoons, because they're straight up sterling silver and copper and all this other fun jazz, they don't hold paint very well. As you can see with this blue dolphin, um, it comes off. I mean, this blue dolphin's still probably like 4 or 5 years old and it's caught a lot of fish, but it is a downside that some people want to steer you away from. I personally still like stinger spoons. One, I feel like because they use sterling silver and stuff, it adds a lot of extra flash to their lures. And I also like that because they're the thinner flutter spoon, I can run them at a lot of different speeds. So I can run them super slow, I can run them fast. They're just very versatile. I will admit, like when I'm on Michigan and stuff, I sometimes run things like Pro Kings, Moonshine, stuff like that. But I still feel I really like stinger spoons. Another one that has worked for me is Dreamweaver Super Slims. I actually don't know what color this is. I bought it last year. I haven't ran it a whole lot, but this was one of the ones that I was trying to show you. The one that I was using last year, and I was having actually a lot of success with this, but I do not have a whole lot of experience with them yet, is these Mr. Chrome mini spoons. These were actually working pretty well on Superior, especially like early season for browns and stuff like that. In the latest video when we were out of Kenosha, this is actually the spoon that was working for me on my downrigger, which is called Wildfire. There's another pink one that was working really good for me, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was pink and white, and it was on a gold blank. Yeah, I don't know. Another like few colors, basically, especially in the spring, I like running a lot of golds and sometimes coppers for pinks and orange spoons. As you saw like 2 weeks ago on my one where we were out of Duluth, it was, I think it's called UV Pinky. I don't have it here because I actually left it to take a photo to get the background photo to put in that video. This is one that works really good for me too, but this is called the Sodas Point Buckeye, gold blank, crushed orange tape. The UV Pinky is a copper spoon. I do have a gold blank one, but I've always had luck on the copper, and I usually end up throwing the copper out and not throwing the gold out. I should get better about that, but this might be the year to do that. But it definitely seems, the UV Pinky one definitely seems to work more low light conditions, but I have had it work in the high sun. But basically in the spring, if I'm running pink or gold, I like to run that on, pink and orange, I like to run that on like a gold or a copper spoon. A lot of it has to do with the water runoff, especially on the western end of Lake Superior where I mainly fish. We have very dirty rivers, a lot of clay, this and that. So they spew out a lot of stuff, and that gold and copper seem to show up in that dirtier water better. I do admit, blue dolphin is always a go-to. Green dolphin, I've been liking over the green dolphin actually though on Superior is the UV Can't Afford It, which is basically the green dolphin except it doesn't have this diagonal stripe. They're both stinger spoons. But basically, once I get to that May, that late April, early May time frame, the water's starting to warm up. The fish are starting to move away from the shore just a little bit. The smelt run's kind of ending. I do like to start switching over to these maglebs. On Superior, the 3.0 is king for me. I really do like the 3.0. 3.5 is definitely worked for Lake Michigan. In all reality, in that Kenosha video, my 3.5 glow dill pickle was catching a lot of fish for me. I will admit though, it was catching bigger fish versus the smaller ones. But I will say, when it comes to maglebs, 3.5 and above, I like taking the front hooks off. Just gives that fish extra leverage away, and it turns it more into like a wild, funky spoon versus a plug. But on these 3.0s, because they're so small, I have been keeping the hooks on. I'm probably going to try to experiment with taking the front hooks off. But as for right now, the front hooks are staying on. The main ones that have always worked really good for me are colors like this. Oh, it's stuck in the foam. Colors like this. It's called Dr. Death. It's pink and black. It's something simple. This one on high sun is absolutely king for me. I have had it work in low light conditions, but definitely a more high sun bait. When it's low light conditions, I like running this, which is called the Metallic Gold Flame. Both these, you can see all the paint that's been ripped off them. But I do like running these mag lips because they're designed by salmon fishermen for salmon fishermen. So they're a little heavier built than something like the Scatterrat Minnow. Like even Rapala will admit these are made for 5-pound walleyes. And when our cohos are smaller, that's fine. But when you're dealing with 10+ pound browns and Lakers and stuff mixed in with the cohos, it can sometimes be problematic with hooks bending out and other stuff, even if you have a looser drag. Especially if you get multiple hooks in them, you get one back here and one up here, and they start doing their head thrashing thing, you can start pulling hooks out here and then also pulling hooks out here. It is a huge problem now. Have I caught fish on them? Yes. But I feel like it's a concern you need to worry about. I do also like this orange with the black dots. And in all reality, these same color patterns transfer over to my spoons and my stick baits, how I like to run them. This one, it's called Zombie Hunter. It's chartreuse green, basically kind of like a funked up green dolphin. It's got a little pink stripes there. That one has worked very well for me. I can't get it back in. Obviously, Wonder Bread's always been very good. Like I just mentioned, they just started making them in the 3.0, so I don't have a whole lot of experience in them with the 3.0 versus the 3.5. But these 3.0 glow dill pickles, I'm assuming are going to be very good because the 3.5 is very good. Rotten Banana here has been very good for me. This one's called Grinch, basically the same as the Zombie Hunter, but just doesn't have the pink stripes on it. And this one is called Keeper. It's basically just chartreuse and orange. That one has also been very good. So when it comes to big boat fishing, I usually like running minimum 2 boards per side. If there's 2 of us in the boat, 2 boards per side. And then I like running slide divers. I know a lot of the Michigan guys just run mini divers with, like a 6-foot leader or something like that. On Superior, I feel like we can't get away with that. The cohos will definitely hit it. The browns, I don't feel like they will as much. So I like running the slide diver to get just out from the boat a little bit more. So I usually run about a 30-foot leader on my slide diver, because then that transfers over during the summer. On my high diver, I have a 30-foot leader. So if you think about it, like 30-foot leader there, I probably let out about 20-25 feet. You're only getting 50-55 feet still, and that's still pretty close. Versus if I only did a 6-foot leader, I'm only like 25 to 30 feet out. So it just gets it out a little more away from the boat. I know some people accomplish this by running like 2 color lead cores off the side of their boat and this and that. I like running the Dipsy. But I do tweak my slide divers a little bit. So especially when I'm running the one, in the spring, I'm running it without the ring on it. And I am running it on a 4 setting. But I have, instead of putting the surgical tubing in between here, I put the surgical tubing on the arm. So since I don't have the ring or anything on it, and it's the standard weight, just putting it on the arm is enough to hold it in place when you snap it in. So this way you can feed that line out really fast and get this thing deployed really, really quickly. One of the other things I do when it comes to board rods, as you can see here, so I run this. Basically, I just have swivels here with a little bit of weight on it. I don't have the keel sinker on this right now, just so that in the winter here it taps up. But basically, I would put like an 1/8 ounce or a 1/2 ounce keel sinker on this. We would, let it out like 50 feet, and then we would put it on a board and let the board out. And so, like you see here, I have a Wonder Bread stinger spoon on here, and I have it wrapped around this reel here. And basically, the reason I have it wrapped around the reel here is so I can just basically pop this off and let it go. So pretty much I have like about a 6 foot, leader. Basically, I just take an arm's length and I tie a swivel to it, and then that's my leader for this. And then I have probably about a 20-foot mono leader to a ball bearing swivel on the reel. So the keel sinker is probably about 6 feet from the spoon. I like doing that method because I don't like having a bunch of lead cores on my boat, and it makes me a little more versatile if I want to possibly take that off and clip some heavier weights to try to fish deeper for the day. To accomplish the same thing on the kayak, instead of running the keel sinker, I run this. I wonder if I could show that. So basically, this is a 3-way swivel system. See how I got the split ring? I got a couple bead chains and swivels. So pretty much I do a very similar situation, except I only do about 4 feet. 3 to 4 feet. I basically have just a little swivel and then a bead. And then I have probably another 20 feet of mono leader. So basically I would run the full mono leader out. I would snip this swivel onto the line, and then I would pinch this pad on the last little bit of the mono leader. And so basically what happens is I can deploy this just like I would if I had a pump handle or a keel sinker on it. But when the fish hits, this pinch pad will release, and then this will slide down to the bead. So that way when I'm in my kayak, I don't have to take the snap weight off, and I can basically I don't need to possibly put slack in the line trying to take the snap weight off. And this just ends up sliding down the bead, and I'm usually only dealing in the spring with like a 2 or a 4 ounce weight on my kayak. So later in the summer we'll deal with 8 and 12 ounces, but you're usually fighting a lot bigger fish, so it kind of evens out. But basically that slides down to the bead, and then you only have like 3 or 4 feet. Easy, you're able to fight the fish up, net the fish. And it works out very well, and it allows me to run a smaller amount of rods on my kayak. I will admit I do prefer running basically pretty bare bones. Most of my rods and reels, I do have a bunch of these rods that I really like. This is the Daiwa Great Lakes series. This one's the 8-foot medium action. This has been a really great board rod for me. The 8'6" medium has also worked really well. I have the 8'6" and the 8-foot because the way my boat's set up, I can't run rod trees. So I wanted the 8'6" to be a little higher than the 8-foot. So if the fish hits, the line goes over top. So basically on my big boat, what mainly gets run here is I have about a 20-foot mono leader to a bead chain in here. And the reason I do 20 feet is because when I like to run pump handles, I like to do 20 feet. So basically, um, I keep it simple. So I make 20-foot monoliter, so I can basically, if I have someone on my boat who doesn't know what they're doing, I can pretty much say, run it out to the mono, pinch on the snap weight, and then zero out the line counter, and let it out to blah 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 length. So I know it's fishing at a certain depth, and then that way when we go to reel it in, when we're fighting the fish, you have a little bit of distance away so that the fish isn't right up next to the boat when you're trying to take that snap weight off. Um, it's really nice when you start getting heavier weights like 8 and 12 ounces when you're fishing very, very deep. It is also really nice because it's far enough away but also close enough that you're still getting a lot of action from, in all reality, what I'm considering, the pump handle action. I know some people like lead core and copper, and they do work, especially lead core. Browns really like the funky, snaky action of lead core. I just don't like having all the rods and reels. I do have some coppers and lead cores. I think I have like 6 of them right now on my boat. I don't use them as often. I definitely prefer running, especially later in the summer I like running 4 divers. In the spring, that's not really possible in my opinion. I'd rather just run more boards and just have 2 dipsies on each side. Just because you're so high in the water column, just seems like a tangled mess to try to fish them that close to each other. But yeah, if you're looking for a good cheap rod, these are really nice. This one I think I got 8 years ago. God, it might even be longer than that. And they've held up really well. I got it a couple years ago. I'm really liking it. The Akuma Cold Water Customs, they did up their price from when I bought it a couple of years ago already. I was really liking those running my pump handles off my kayak. I think the way they work, I think they would work very well for board rods on a big boat too. I do like over these, the Akuma Cold Waters have basically lead core metal eyes. So when you're doing the braid to mono leader like I am here, you don't need to worry about that metal bead causing scratches or something in your eyelets like I am kind of with the Daiwa. But pretty much anything like that. I like 8 to 8'6" rods for my board rods, and I like 7.5 foot for my downrigger rods. Dipsy rods, obviously, this one is my high diver, so this one's it's either 9.5 or 10 feet. Obviously, I do that because my deep diver rod is 8.5 foot. So I just want something for my high diver to be just a little bit longer, and so like if you do get fish, the rods are longer and going over top of each other. I think that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions, leave comments down below. And in all reality, tight lines, it's coming quick, guys. It's gonna be quick and good. And in all reality, things are looking up for how many fish we have in the system, especially on Superior. It sounded like we were seeing a lot of cohos around. So, all right. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you again probably a couple weeks from now.